Este podcast llega a ustedes gracias a Properties and Constructions Multiservices.
Thank you for tuning in Pursuit of Greatness podcast. I am your host, Arismendi Martinez. I want to thank everybody for your love and support on the social media, on the platforms. Thank you for subscribing to our channel in Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Thank you for following me, and TikTok, Instagram, iPod Podcast and TikTok, and Arismendi Martinez on Instagram. Today I have a very special person, an entrepreneur extraordinaire, as I call him, a maverick. Very exciting to have him because he's a person who takes a lot of risk, who wants to make a change here in the Dominican Republic, in the Samana Peninsula, with a new project, Nomad City. It's a person who I really admire after seeing his background, seeing everything that he has done. He has a bachelor in business administration. As I said, a certified entrepreneur with different businesses throughout his career in Poland. He's an author with his book, Chasing Black Unicorns. He's the co-founder and CEO of Samana Group. He is Marek Zmyslowski.
How are you?
I didn't get it right.
You got it right. You got it perfect for the first time, so don't worry about it. It's a pleasure to be here. It's my first ever podcast and interview in the Dominican Republic, so I'm super happy. I just want to correct one thing. I don't have a bachelor's in business administration.
Okay.
I'm actually a college dropout, so.
Okay, because I saw in the LinkedIn that you have the
Yes, I was studying.
yeah, it's there. Talk to me about you. How comes your interest in businesses in general?
Yeah. I guess this microphone length is okay. Right?
Yeah.
So, for me to be interested in business was an unusual life path to choose to start with, because I was born in '86. This was just 3 years before the communism ended in Poland, so capitalism started. So capitalism for a typical Polish person was this weird thing. No one really knew what this is about. My mother is a teacher. My father was a soldier. So when I told them I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to open a business, basically they asked me, why don't I want to get a normal or a real job, right? So there was this negative stigma against entrepreneurs, which was a result of many decades, a generation of communism, where anyone who tried to make a business, make a change, because you do a business either to make a change or to make money or to do both. There was a lot of negative connotations towards the business, so I had to start from choosing something that was, I wouldn't say against what my family's wishes, but definitely not the typical career path to choose from. Because I come from a family of soldiers and teachers.
Yeah, but the way that they raise their sons or children is a very strict way. So when someone, like their word has a lot of weight. Yeah. How did you navigate that to continue to pursue what you wanted?
Well, it wasn't easy. We mentioned the university adventure. Factually, I was studying for 5 years, but it was 5 years every time, the first year on a different university, because I was starting this university just because my mom wanted me to. But then after a couple months, I was like, this is totally not for me. I just want to go back to to opening a business. I had this motivation because I had some part of my family in Western Germany, and I could see how different a life quality can be just because I am in the post-communist country and my cousins who are my age are in a Western capitalistic country, right? Mm-hmm. So they had all the toys and the sweets and the TV, whatever they wanted, and I was coming from a much more humble beginning. Mm-hmm. And the difference between us was just 200 kilometers, maybe 300. So it's like 200 miles. Mm-hmm. So I could see that there is a big difference in your life quality that depends on the system you live in, and I was very curious, like what does it make your lifestyle so much nicer? Mm-hmm. And capitalism is based on entrepreneurship.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was like that's what I want to do.
But you were learning day by day, or you had teachers, you had mentors. How do you went about it?
It was a baptism by fire. So I did really got into it thanks to my first boss and mentor. I was basically, a door-to-door salesman of insurance products and finance products and later mortgages. We've created one of the, biggest at that time brokerage companies in Poland. That was 2007, 2008. And I was employee number 5. So this big guy that I was really looking up to him, he really embedded a lot of internal values that I stick to when it comes to running a business. But then I never had any mentor or coach. I did read a lot of books, and I still do read a lot of books. I actually listen to them in an audiobook format because I do believe that it's great to have a mentor. Just because something worked for that particular person in that particular situation in that particular time doesn't mean that copying that will work for you. So instead of that, you just want to collect as much knowledge as possible. And knowing that I am a college dropout and I just cannot stick to one particular topic of studies for a while, I was like, let me be a generalist. And just like an entrepreneur, you have to be a little bit good in almost everything. If I focus on reading a lot of books, I might get something out of it. So whether this is successful or not, I'm not the one to judge. But most of my knowledge comes from experience and making mistakes on my own. And those mistakes that I haven't done, it's because I learned about them from book. I've probably read close to 1,000 books by now when it comes to about business only.
Wow, but I admire that you have a strong will, that you never, quitting was never an option for you. Like when you fail, you have failures in the beginning, you came back.
Yeah, that was definitely embedded by one of my first mentors, that if you want to increase your chance of success, you do really have to change your perception of how many times you should try. Many people, say, you can find that rule in different aspects of life, not only in business, but you just have to keep trying many, many times until you figure this out, and it comes in thousands of attempts. I mean, the most extreme example is like, how long will you allow your kid to learn how to walk, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, it has to keep learning until he learns.
Exactly.
So I think there's a misconception about how many tries and how many failures you actually have to go through in order to achieve what you want. And I guess the most important thing is to create such an environment when a failure doesn't take away your chance to try again. So, for example, in business, if your first business where you fail is going to create so much emotional damage in your head, and is going to create so much debt that you never have a chance to even try again, then that is a big problem. So I always try to, even if I take risk, I'm taking such a risk that even if it fails, I still have a chance and enough power, energy, and also resources to try again.
Okay.
So I was taking a lot of risks, but the risk was in failure, but that doesn't mean that the failure doesn't allow you to try again, especially when you're young. Mm-hmm. And there's this theory of infinite game. That's actually, there's a book about this, right? And I think Simon Sinek talks about this a lot, that if the game is infinite and we live so long and longer, right? It's really not about winning that one time, but creating an environment where you can keep trying. And then at some point you will try. So that's especially needed for young, I think, entrepreneurs. Keep trying, keep taking risks, but don't ever put yourself in a risk where you're gonna steal the new chance of working again from yourself.
How do you manage your emotions with business? Not letting your emotions take decisions, business decisions, like when things are not going well. You have that feeling that you have failed, that you're not sufficient enough, that you're not meant to do this. How do you manage that in the decision making?
That's the $1 million question. Because, and again, this is not common knowledge, I'd say. It's not in the common conception of business that so much, it really depends on how you manage your emotions. I think there's a lot of knowledge that you have to manage your body well, you have to be healthy, you have to go to the gym to live longer, think smart, think sharper, and so on. But I think the same rule applies when it comes to your mental well-being. Mm-hmm. In my particular case, I'm still so far from where I want to be, but I do focus a lot about making business decisions when I am in a calm emotional state. So not to make decisions in a short-term emotional state that has long-term repercussions. Mm-hmm. I am aware of that. That doesn't mean I'm good at it. Like the more you get aware of it, the more you realize how bad you are at it. But I do pay a lot of attention to being in the right emotional state before making the business decisions that may really affect you.
Okay.
This can apply to strategical decisions of a company, but this can also apply to your daily meetings with potential clients, right? Sometimes it's better not to take the meeting with the client if you're upset than to lose that client because you said something you shouldn't have said, or the other way around, yeah? Or you said too much, or you didn't say what you should. Yeah.
Something that I like about you, business-wise, that you're always aware of the tendencies, the market, because you're not afraid to get into different markets. I saw that you did like funeral services. Like how does that come about? Like being aware. How do you stay in touch with what could explode in the market?
Yeah. I guess it boils down to reading a lot and talking a lot to people representing certain industries. I did change industry a lot. I guess every new company I started was in a different environment.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was a funeral business. Before that we had a financial brokerage. That was the first big business that I've done. The funeral business was like so-so. We sold it, but it wasn't a big success. Then I did, e-commerce and online travel in Sub-Saharan Africa. Then I did solar power business in Western Europe, and now I'm doing, real estate in the Dominican Republic. I wasn't necessarily following the trends. So let me tell you how my decision process was. Like I know that I like to work in sales, in online marketing, and I like to work with people, and with age, I started to love to work in business that I can touch what I build. So that was my big problem. I was in financial products, then I was in websites, then I was in online travel services. You cannot touch this really, right? But solar panels and now buildings, you can touch. But I really know what I like to do, and as an entrepreneur, in order to speaking from a position of how can I make most money from what I'm doing that I love also? Because you wanna do something that you love, that brings you money, but it's also good for the society, right? That's like the ultimate trio. I was searching for the industry that is in the right location and in the right timing that allows me to make money and do good things while doing what I like. So I'm gonna give you an example. When I opened the funeral business in the year 2009, I believe. My focus was, I'm gonna search for clients online because I see this big change that people are searching for different type of services online. Don't ask me why I chose funeral businesses. Well, you don't ask, but I will tell you why. It was because at that time, everyone wanted to go into social media. Everyone was trying to build a second Facebook. So I'm like, I said to myself, I don't think anyone else will think about building a funeral business because it's
you want to
interesting.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my entry barrier. But there was just no growth in this area. Like I assumed more and more people will be searching for any kind of services, and this ones as well, on the internet back in the day in the early 2000s in Poland. But I was too early for like 10 years. And this is like a kiss of death. When you open a new business, you're going to have so many problems to solve, like bad people, bad clients, not enough money, and so on. But if you enter with your product too early into a market, unless you have a lot of money, unless you have unlimited money, it's going to be very hard to save the company if you're too early to the market. So I was evidently too early to the market, but what I knew I love is to, finding clients online, building brands online, and then disrupting, so bringing a new company into a sector that is established already.
Okay.
That didn't work in funeral business in the early 2000s at all. But when I did the same approach in the solar power business, in the solar panels business, 10 years later, again in Poland, that was the perfect timing because the market was there, people were searching for these products online, and we focused 100% on finding clients online. We didn't go to trade fair, I didn't buy billboards on the streets, but I have enough traction, enough clients just from that particular area that allowed me to compete with those big solar roofing companies back then in Europe. So again, I was doing the same thing. I loved sales, I loved
following your passion.
Following my passion, I loved meeting people and so on. And I found the market which was in the right timing for doing what I love. That was the solar power industry. And we've sold and built 1,000 roofs in 4 countries in 3 years. So that was like this perfect example that timing is extremely crucial when it comes to opening your business.
So talking about timing, so how does the timing match with your stay here in Samana? And how does the timing come with the Samana group?
Yeah, so I came to Samana for the first time. By the way, as you already know the story, my today's wife brought me here, and I just fell in love with Jarica, who I met in South Africa. She brought me. She said if I ever want to visit DR, she has a friend here. I was like, oh, you don't have a friend, you have a husband. and long story short, a week after I was in Dominican Republic, she was the one to bring me to Samana. So I immediately fell in love with this area.
What did you like about it?
The combination of different types of microclimates in one small area, because you have the mountain, the jungle, the beach, the ocean, the lake, the waterfall. It's like a microcontinent. This is the reason why I fell in love with South Africa many years ago. But South Africa was extremely dangerous for me. And that's a topic for another conversation. And it's not it doesn't have as many business opportunities for a foreign investor as it used to have, right? So everything that I loved in South Africa, I found here, plus more. So opportunities and safety, not even mentioning my wife, right? But that was the very beginning. So like a typical gringo, what can I do here? Probably dream about having a beach bar, or a kite surfing school at some point. So I knew that I love this place and I want to have my house here, but there was no conversation about business yet. I was in the middle of my growth of my solar roof business, which made me fall in love with real estate more and more. So then, who I met in Samana, thanks to Jarica bringing me here, were my today's business partners who have been here for by now more than almost 20 years, who have been investing in land assembly and hotels and so on. So I already had someone that was here. But then what really happened that was very important to my career and my life choices, not only as an entrepreneur, but also as a human, was the COVID pandemic situation that was a very, very visible and affected our lifestyle in a heavy way. I'm talking about me and Jarica because we were living at that time in Barcelona. And Spain was one of the first countries to lock down and was one of the countries with the harshest rules applied onto the society. Like we couldn't leave the house for the first few months, right? And we could only go once per week to a supermarket, and they would be checking, if you didn't go too far. So I did feel like this is that the way the society is organized is not necessarily that I'm satisfied with. Maybe also with age, I started to long for being closer to nature again. Every time I would come to Samana, because by then I would be visiting Samana, every year. Every time I was in Samana for a month, I would sleep better, I would work out more, I would be in the sun more, in nature more, and it didn't affect my work at all. Like I was working shorter, but I was more efficient and more productive. So it seemed like a win-win, right? So that part was missing. And after the first few months of lockdown, which back then I already knew we don't like where this is going. We're going back to the paradise on earth, which is Samana, which is Dominican Republic. Again, I was like, what can I do here that will allow me to do what I love, will allow me to make money, because obviously as an entrepreneur you have to be able to put food on the table, and also hopefully bring positive change. And I did come about the concept of building real estate projects which are big enough to be able to afford more sustainable technologies, to have a lower negative impact on the nature, and at the same time have a better impact on the positive on the local communities. But not big enough to destroy that very reason why you came here in the first place. And that's how I fell in love with real estate in the Dominican Republic, and how I fell in love not with buying cheap and selling expensively, not just by being and not opening a hotel number 3,500, but building a community from scratch, an international community mixed with local community that appreciates the nature, appreciates the local aspect of the region they come for. And Samana is just so much different than everything else around, not only in the DR but also in the whole Caribbean region. Did you even know that Samana is the only region in the whole country that has to have a Ministry of Tourism approval when you have to build anything? So this country also treats Samana in a very special way. So it's a privilege and big responsibility to build something here.
Yeah, but talk to me about the risk, because you guys went big with Nomad City. You want to build a big project. You didn't want to go small, like a little house and rent it. Like, how comes the idea of really changing the game, changing the Monterrojo sector? Why, like, yeah, that's all I want to know. Like why big and not go small first?
Actually, that's what we do, because we start small, we think big, but the ambition are actually big, right? Nomad City is designed to host 5,000 residents, right?
It's big, it's big.
I would say the reason number one is pragmatism. There's so much conversation around the world right now about finding a better way for communities, for people to live without the destruction of the nature. I was seeing this in South Africa. I saw this in Nigeria, in Ghana. I saw this in Honduras when there's a project. And when I look at the history of development of different areas in the world, look at Zanzibar, look at Mauritius, look at Punta Cana, look at Cancun, Tulum, and so on. Every time, I mean, this is the most usual scenario. There's this romantic fisherman village where people live in harmony with nature. Someone comes in, falls in love, wants to bring here his family, friends, and also build something, because eventually we as people, we have ambition to build. That place ends up like being very developed, like city-like or resort-like, and so on. And you might argue that you're losing that very reason why it was so natural in the first place. You end up with too much concrete, too much density, and so on. And there are many, areas around the world that you might point to. I would say Cancun, right? For example. Or you have this uncontrolled development of many different smaller developers, smaller players, with many small projects who are too small in order to be able to sustain, what they wanted to stick to. They don't have the money to pay to buy the technology they want to buy. And it also creates a chaos, because usually all those small communities don't know how to cooperate with each other. Every association most of the time fights for who's not paying the monthly fee, right? So to sum up, because I'm talking too long about this, as you see, this is very passionate for me. There has to be a minimum viable scale of every community to be able to deliver what you wanted to do. And in our case, if you want to deliver a lifestyle in harmony with nature and local community, although it might sound counterintuitive, you have to be at minimum size to be able to make enough money to be able to pay for that vision, right? Because if I build a community with 20 rooms, I will never be able to build a water treatment plant, right?
Exactly.
Or water, or sewage, or trash sorting plant, and so on and so on. So this is the tricky part. You have to be able to build a big organization that doesn't become too greedy in the process, to be able to afford that very technologies, that very lifestyle you want to support. Because ecological solutions, ecological lifestyle, all this comes at a cost. They are usually more expensive than what is now popular, because the reason why the current lifestyle is popular is because it's cheap at the expense of nature. So that's why our community is designed at 5,000 people. At the same time, because of the land that we have control of and the land on which we are developing, this project will have the lowest density, not only in Samana, but I would say even in the whole country, because we're talking about a mixed-use community for 5,000 residents, when our density is right now estimated at 17%. 17, that's 17. And let me just use a comparison to Punta Cana, where the average density is around 70%. So so the second approach is, once you have to have enough scale, you also have to have enough land to have a lower impact on the nature, and that comes from low density. There's a different responsibility for 5 million people living in one town than 5 million people living in one country, right?
Exactly.
The density is very important when you look from the perspective of your impact on nature and local communities. And I guess the third thing that we really pay attention to I guess Jarica told you more about this, is to make sure that the local communities are benefiting from our growth
exactly.
as much as we are benefiting from living here. And there's so many charity organizations in the country and in the region. There's so many foundations, and everyone does it in their own way, and that's great. I think we want to focus on what we believe we know the best, or what we believe we have the biggest impact on. And right now we're focusing on empowering female entrepreneurs because their economical and personal growth can help the region. Teaching kids English because it's an efficient way to give someone a bigger chance in career. And helping local communities also deal with the waste.
Yeah.
So they don't have to burn the trash, they can sort it together with us,
Yeah.
thanks to the infrastructure we're putting in place.
Also, that is very important to mention that the value of the land goes up after Nomad City has been built, like the community.
Our neighbors will benefit from it.
Exactly. The whole sector.
Correct. And the whole idea is to also have more local businesses who are providing to those new projects being built. And that's what we're doing. We're inviting local entrepreneurs who are willing to. I think the newest thing we just discussed is the food to our workers is provided by a lady who has a tiny restaurant in the village that we're building in. So we do pay a lot of attention to it, not just because it sounds good, but it also just makes economical sense for everyone.
Talk to me about Nomad City, how people can come and see the project, the virtual. Teresa told me about that. There's a virtual tour. How do people come and know more about it?
Well, of course, we have a lot of digital solutions to get to know our project better. Everything is available on our website, on our social media accounts, on Instagram, but nothing, especially in Samana, like the photos, the videos, and the virtual tours are not giving the justice to the beauty that Samana represents. So that's why we have our showroom inside Nomad City. That's why we have an office inside Samana in the Malecon. So we are inviting everyone that has time, coming from Santo Domingo, Santiago, or Punta Cana. Just give us a call before, book a reservation, and we have people there on a daily basis giving a personal tour to everyone interested in the lifestyle of Samana. We're not evangelizing about moving to Samana full time, but being able to live between New York or Samana, Santo Domingo, Samana, at least made me happy.
Makes me happy.
And I think I think about too as well, because you've also opened a business in Samana, being also involved in Santo Domingo, right?
Yes.
I think you are the best example.
Yes, I'm the best example. It gives an experience, a very unique experience. It gives you a peace. It's relaxing. You don't get sick. The energy around it, like, it's perfect. I want to go back. I'll find a way.
We love this lifestyle. It really made me, and I believe Jarica can also vouch for this, happy. We were looking for different places in the world, different towns to live in. We couldn't find it, so we decided to build one.
Is the vision long term? I'm speaking very long term. Is to build Nomad City in other places in the world, or just here develop it in more places in Dominican Republic? Have you ever thought about it?
Oh, who knows where the journey is going to take us. However, if you ask me where my focus is for the next 10 years, 100% Samana.
Okay.
Maybe not only Monterrojo. However, we do want to be a part of this beautiful story that Samana has, that started thousands of years ago.
Okay. So what's your biggest...
Not by us. It didn't start by us, but the first, Taino people that arrived here.
So what's the biggest lesson, the biggest takeaway you had in your whole career? What lessons can you teach the audience right now, young entrepreneurs, that they should be aware about when they're starting in their journey in the business wise?
Again, remember what I said before. What works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for anyone else. We all come from different backgrounds. It really did help me, and it worked for me, that I did not focus on having one mentor. Not that I didn't want to, I just maybe didn't have an option, but being able to take from knowledge of hundreds, thousands of people by being able to read their books really changed my life. especially because I didn't get a typical, public-funded knowledge. And but on the other side, again, just continuing what I said, just because it worked for me doesn't work for anyone else. On the other side, what I do feel I've missed was the time where I dropped out from universities because I didn't build too many high-quality relationships with many interesting people. And your network is your net worth. If you're able to get to a good university, it's like buying 1,000 coupons in your Loteca at once. Because you might not become successful at first, right? But if you went to a good university, you got to know 50 people, you spent a lot of time with, you did parties and so on. Some of them statistically will become successful. And if they do respect you as a person, they will help you at some point in life as well. So being around high quality circles of people, whether this is university or people focused around one passion, it can be sport or anything else, it's like a support system, and also it might increase your chances of becoming successful, because if you don't become successful, but they will, they might help you.
They bring you up. Marek, I really appreciate you taking the time for us to talk. Please give the audience some information about how to get to Samana Group.
Yes. Well, I think the easiest way, because now we all use Instagram, is to go to Instagram and type in Samana Group. And you will find all the information there. Or our website is www.samana.group, written in English. Or you just Google Jarica and you'll find Jarica on the internet, and she also posts a lot about Nomad City. Because I'm not gonna now tell people to put my name in Google, because it's just too complicated.
Let me ask you just one last question, because I remember the first time that I met you, I asked you something. I asked you why, like why, what's your purpose? What's your why of you helping others? Building a sustainable system for others. Why? What drives you? Why do you want to do that?
It's a multifaceted reply. There's this theory that in order for people to stay happy, they have to fulfill 3 goals. They have to do what brings them enjoyment, what brings them satisfaction, what brings them passion. And for me, building a new town from scratch in a country that I fell in love with, and also where my wife comes from, checks all those boxes, because I do what I enjoy on a daily basis. Plus, it allows you to make money and build a big business, which fulfills my ego. That's the satisfaction, because you can build a big business that you will be proud of. And at the same time, this is the biggest challenge of every entrepreneur. I would say the new wave of entrepreneurs. Like, are you able to build a business that will be good for the society and will make money at once? Because usually the old school version of capitalism is either or, right? So this is the big challenge that I'm assigned for. And if once we make it, it's not an if, it's once we make it, then we are setting up a good standard, not only for this country, but also for other countries. So those are the stakes that I'm going after, yeah.
Oh man, I appreciate
that's the passion part, yeah.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you. I want to wish you the best of luck in the project. I know it's going to be a very successful project. I can see it.
And I hope you'll be a part of it. So
yeah. We're going to be there, man.
Awesome.
So thank you very much for your
Thanks
time.
Thanks for your invitation.
Take care. Guys, this is In Pursuit of Greatness podcast. Bye-bye.
Este podcast llega a ustedes gracias a Properties and Constructions Multiservices.